morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook right here on the McGrath Streaming Podcast Project. I almost got it perfect again. Good morning to my co-host, Jack Hirsch, boxing Hall of Fame writer and all-around sports guru. How are you this morning, Jack?
Hey, good.
Little music to start.
Yeah.
We're happy to be able to come with you this morning and, hopefully distract everybody from it's been a bad weekend around both abroad and here in this country with some violence and different, again, just the world being the world, I guess, that it is today. Bad news in Hollywood, bad news on some college campuses and abroad. And we're with all that going on, we always are cognizant of it. We come here, we have a good time, but we certainly know what's going on. Our thoughts and prayers are with people that are affected by these things directly or indirectly. And we're glad that we can come here and distract people at least for an hour on a Monday morning. And I know Jack feels the same way. If there's anything you want to add, Jack.
Exactly. We're very sensitive always what's going on in the world. And it's going to continue that way because that's how society is. But when we do a show like this, we put it in perspective. It's a sports show. It's a distraction from what's going on in the real world. And it does bother us the way it bothers you. And it bothers us a great deal what, happens in society, the wars, the killings, the crimes, etc. But it's a sports show, so we really don't talk about it. But we did want to make a note of it today, that it's something that doesn't just go over our head. It sticks with us the way it sticks with you, even though we don't talk about it, when we do our show on this weekly basis.
100%. I do these shows like 17 hours a week just to get away from all that nonsense. So it's sad. And off we go, though, to the fantasy world of sports, which, again, to a lot of us is very important, probably more important than it ought to be. Good morning to Brian, who popped in early this morning. We're going to go through the NFL and what is kind of a very interesting day, and we'll start in a place that I really don't feel like starting, but I have to. My team, who I have, again, I'm not a rose-colored fan type of guy. I point out problems where they are, and this isn't a perfect football team, but there are good I shouldn't say that. There aren't really good losses, but there's bad losses. This is a bad loss for the Patriots yesterday, dominating the first half, and actually the end of the second half, the Bills started to bounce back, but they're up 21-0 in this game, 24-7 at the half. They possessed the ball for about 6 minutes in the second half totally. They have no offense at all in the second half except a long touchdown run by Travion Henderson to get them back in the lead briefly. And the Bills kind of let people know that they aren't quite done yet. Josh Allen, 2 weeks in a row now, last week with a fourth quarter comeback, he led this team on long drive after long drive yesterday from about the end of the first half on. That touchdown to the end of the first half was really kind of important for them, even though the Patriots tacked on a field goal. They're not done. This is a really good football team still. And, the Patriots are not dead. I'm not saying this is, the end of the world, but, there are those who say they haven't beaten good teams, although they beat this good team already. Will have their say today, probably.
The Patriots are probably still winning the division, but the Buffalo Bills still owe the division. It's kind of like the couple of decades under Belichick, Brady, where the Patriots run supreme. They didn't quite win the division every single year, but they were always the team in that division, the number one team, even if they got in as a wild card on one particular year. And even the year where Brady got hurt and Matt Castell replaced him, they went 11-5. They didn't make the playoffs. They were still the team in that division. And yesterday was a big statement game for the Buffalo Bills, because finally New England was going to have a changing of the guard. It was more or less going to be official yesterday. The Patriots were going to win the game. It's a changing of the guard. And now it's the Patriots' time to take over the division like for years to come. and the Bills a step behind them. But what the Bills did was restore order. That's what they did. They sent out a big message. They were down 24-7, came back, won the game. Even though the Patriots are probably winning the division, nothing is certain now, but more likely than not, the Pats win the division. The Buffalo Bills are the number one team in that division. And they're not just with yesterday's win over, the Pats, the way they did it, coming back. Big statement game. And which team has more upside to go a little further in the playoffs? You get the feeling it's the Buffalo Bills still. You get that feeling. But I'm going to say this. No matter what happens the rest of the way, the Patriots season has been a big success. Even though Pat fans are not going to feel that way if they lose 2 of their last 3 games and they slip. And even if they win the division and they lose in the first game of the playoffs, fans are going to be disappointed in New England, understandably so. This season has exceeded anything that myself could have expected out of New England. I mean, it's been a great year on the gray. But let's see how New England bounces back after suffering this type of loss.
Yeah, we do talk about no moral victories, right? But just the fact to piggyback a little bit on what you were just talking about, as a Patriot fan, just the fact that I'm as frustrated and disappointed losing this game yesterday as I am tells me how far they've come, because I didn't expect them to be leading the division by 2 games going into yesterday's game. I expected to be maybe battling for a wild card, down at the bottom of the rung. But
Keith, would you agree with me this? And this has nothing to do with moral victories.
No.
It's how you lose sometimes matters.
Yes.
When you're up 24-7, I think that was a score at the half.
It was.
And you lose a game this big to your chief rival, that stings a lot more than if you were down 24-7 at the half and closed the gap and came just a little short.
I agree 100%. As I said, kind of when we started talking about this, there are bad losses. This is a bad loss because of the way they played. They played so well for a quarter and a half, and they just fell apart. This is probably Drake May's worst game of the year, I would say. The offensive line didn't play particularly well. Even one of Henderson's long runs, that play was bottled up. He did that all by himself because that play was shut down for like a 1-yard loss, and he just found some space and took off. And I thought momentarily that put him back ahead at the time. I think 30, I guess it was 31-28, I guess, at the time.
Well, the Patriot run defense, which I think has been, correct me, I think it's been decent throughout the year. It was awful yesterday. And we talked before the game that James Cook was going to be the key guy. Josh Allen's always the key guy for Buffalo, but I'm talking about otherwise. How James Cook is going to run the ball, how effective he was going to be, was going to play a major role in the outcome of the game. And James Cook came up with a great game.
That team's much better when James Cook is involved in the game. We talked about this early in the season when the Bills were struggling. I kept saying they need to get Cook involved. They got him involved yesterday. And again, as you said, Josh Allen is still the key to that team, and they're never out of it. I mean, it's just.
You know what? I think it hurt a little more, even though maybe New England is feeling it. Wow, Buffalo, did we really pass them yet? They send a message to us. It's getting that valuable bye. And it seems yesterday's loss, it kind of slipped away from New England with Denver winning. Okay, it's going to be kind of hard for New England to get the bye. And the bye means a lot because if you get the bye, you have both 2 games at home to get to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And now without the bye, you have to play 3 games and not all of them at home.
Well, as we stand right now, they're actually 2 games behind the Broncos in that because
the Broncos it's basically over.
Yeah. Well, the Broncos have a tougher schedule coming in than the Patriots, theoretically. So there's hope. And again,
that was a tough scheduled game yesterday, so I don't want to hear that with the Packers.
Actually, they did play well. I like the Packers yesterday, but we'll get into that. Let me get into a couple of these comments before we move on from this game. Big week for the playoffs. Yeah. We'll be talking more of the college football playoff on Friday for sure. Ken. Welcome to Ken from the Bottom Line Sports.
What's interesting what Carlton's saying, Bills now or never, they have a solid path to the Super Bowl. Yes and no. Their path to the Super Bowl doesn't have to go through Kansas City anymore. And it's a shame in a sense because the past Buffalo Bill teams that lost to the Chiefs would have had a heck of a chance this year of going to the Super Bowl.
They would
But
have.
this might not be as good of a Buffalo Bill team as the one of the last 1, 2, 3, 4 years.
I would think this is the worst one of those teams, quite frankly.
Right, I would too, despite their great comeback yesterday.
No, it's still a good team.
They don't have a clear path. Bills do not have a clear path to the Super Bowl. Maybe they get there if they could ride the back of Josh Allen's heroics. I'm not. No one's discounting their chances, but they don't have a clear path. Well, despite Kansas City no longer being in the picture.
If they finish out the regular season like they played the last couple of weeks, dominating second halves, they will be one of the favorites. The AFC's wide open.
They'll be in the mix.
I think subconsciously, there's probably the Bills will have some relief in their brains, knowing that Kansas City's not waiting somewhere down the line. I think there'll be some kind of relief in their head. Just me.
Yeah, but let them go to have to play Denver and Denver. That would be a tough nut to crack.
That's a great point. You talked about Denver. Since we're at the top of the AFC, we'll talk about the Broncos. A great performance by Bo Nix yesterday. The Bronco defense came up big in several spots. Love with a big interception at the end of that game. I didn't ever feel like I didn't feel like the Packers were ever going to win that game. Watching what I watched of that game, if Broncos felt like they were in charge most of that game. I don't know how you felt. I know that there were times it was close, and even the Packers had a lead a bit early in that game, but it felt like the Broncos were in charge. And I think that, again, playing, especially the way you saw the Packers not play well in the fourth quarter again. Teams don't play well in the fourth quarter because of that mile-high issue. And I think that's why it's a big factor, the Broncos getting home field advantage here if they, in fact, hold on to it.
Well, I'm going to say this. Of all the teams that lost yesterday, of all the teams, the worst loss was not the New England Patriots. It was the Green Bay Packers. Worst loss. And I'm not talking about just the game itself, the injuries that went down. Losing Micah Parsons apparently for the season. Yesterday, it's like as if the Packers saw their Super Bowl hopes fade with the amount, because going forward, like Christian Watson was hurt. Micah Parsons, devastating injury. He was supposed to be the difference maker to put the Packers over the top as a Super Bowl team, and he's not going to be there the rest of the year.
That's a big loss.
Devastating loss. At least had they won the game, they would have been the number 1 seed and maybe tried to hold on, but it's going to be tough the rest of the way. The Packers probably still make the playoffs. Probably, but I wouldn't be as optimistic about, them advancing far as I was going into yesterday's game.
Well, they fell they had a chance to get to the number 1 seed yesterday, and they fell to 7th. So that's how volatile all these seedings are right now in both conferences, actually. So,
well, in that division too, you could argue the Lions suffered the worst loss because now it looks like they're completely out of the playoffs, but you can make that argument. Intriguing division. The Chicago Bears might actually win it, but I can't see with them with Caleb Williams, going to the Super Bowl. But look, anything's possible. Anything's possible.
And at the top of the NFC, also yesterday, I guess the Eagles couldn't have picked a better time they didn't pick the time to play the Raiders, but they came up on their schedule at the perfect time. This is a team that's pretty much given up, and Eagles just dominated this game from start to finish and maybe get a little bit of mojo back, but they got to beat good teams now too.
Raiders are awful. Let me ask you, I never asked you, Ashton Genty coming out of college.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be pretty good. He's been awful. I don't want to say he's been a bust. I'm going to be polite and say he's been a disappointment. That's the politest thing, the best thing I could say about him. He's been a disappointment. If I really want to go off, I could say he's been a bust completely. But I'll say he's a disappointment. And I don't want to hear about the great offensive line. It just looks like he's not that good. He's not as good as Amari Hampton, who the Chargers drafted.
He doesn't seem to have that burst, that running backs need, that first step. He doesn't seem to have it. And again, some of it is the offensive line. I can't just say it's terrible. And there's been other great running backs who have really been bad in their first year. Hell, O.J. Simpson was horrendous his first year in Buffalo, as I remember as a kid. And he ended up having a pretty good career, if not post-career, but he had a pretty good football career.
Oh, well, listen, I like to joke with you about movies and TV shows. Remember the Titanic? The guy Jack Dawson said he won his ticket on a lucky thing. And then Cal said the guy, a real man makes his own luck. Well, I'll say a real running back makes his own yardage, right? And a league running back finds a way to get some extra yards.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm glad you brought up Titanic because I have a beef with that whole freaking Rose is not the great person we think she is because there was plenty of room in that raft for both of them. I'm telling you right now. There was plenty.
Yeah, I don't get the images. Like Rose gets up, Cal's being made to be the total villain. And I understand why Cal was a cutthroat guy with business. I get all that. But that's his fiance fooling around with this other guy. He has a right to be upset.
She could have pulled him on the raft, too. There was plenty of room. Jeez, come on, Rose. Get it together. Revisionist history. What are you going to do? Great movie. I love to bring up movies.
But the Philadelphia Eagles, nice bounce back.
Great.
But at least they're avoiding the free fall. And this is the situation with the Eagles now. The only way they don't make the playoffs is if they lose their last 3 games and the Cowboys win their last 3. And that combo isn't going to happen because out of 6 games, 3 of the Cowboys and 3 of the Eagles, all 6 are going to have to go wrong for the Eagles. So the Eagles are in the playoffs. They still have to find a way to get it together. Their defense showed up, was elite yesterday. And, A.J. Brown only had a couple of catches yesterday, but at least one was for touchdown. They get Devontae Smith involved. Goddard has been their main receiver, their tight end this year, the way it seems. Quan Barkley still isn't the play he was last year. He was somewhat effective yesterday, though.
And ran the ball better the last couple of weeks, even though the team struggled. He got more involved last week, I thought, or at least early in the game, and then they kind of went away from him. So, but they need to get back to him. And we'll talk more about hot seats for sure, but I think Pete Carroll is definitely on a hot seat. I think he's a candidate to be one and done. Not Aaron Glenn, though.
Not Aaron Glenn, but Aaron Glenn is going to have to change his ways. As a Jet fan, do I want to see Aaron Glenn come back for one more year? Yeah. The only way I want to move on from Aaron Glenn, if you had a Mike Grable type candidate there who you can't afford to bypass. But I don't see any Mike Grable types out there. Do you? Or Sean Payton types? Tell me if there's one out there.
I cannot. We've had this discussion before. I don't see one guy unless, you're right. If you're in love with Marcus Freeman and you get him to come here, which you're not going to, that's not going to.
I don't think Marcus Freeman coming here might be a little out of his element. He's not familiar, with the NFL.
Yeah.
Really, the modern NFL. Maybe be a good coach. But if Aaron Glenn, who's made his reputation as a defensive-minded defensive coordinator, the Lions, excellent defensive player with the Jets, he's turned over the defense to Steve Wilkes, his defensive coordinator, and the defense was dreadful again yesterday. Aaron Glenn's going to have to personally take that over. Who's the one name who I might actually hire if I moved on, and you're going to wince? Rex Ryan. He would get – wait. He would get the defense straightened out. If nothing else. He would get the defense straightened out. He wouldn't put up with yesterday. And yesterday was supposed to be a bounce back. Aaron Glenn apologized the week before over how poorly they performed. He promised to have them ready yesterday. The tackling was awful yesterday, amongst other things.
You mentioned the defense, and one thing I can see I think Aaron Glenn is safe, as you say, as Brian says.
Yeah, one more year.
I do think they hold his feet to the fire a little bit, and he's going to have to make some staff changes or to keep his job, but I think they're going to make him make some staff changes.
They need a quarterback. You see, if I'm the owner, I evaluate the coach. What you do if you come back with Justin Fields as your starting quarterback, a Tyrod Taylor. First off, I wouldn't allow that. I would sooner get a Jameis Winston and try to revive his career the way Geno Smith revived his. It might not seem ideal, but it's certainly a better option. They're paying Justin Fields next year. I get that. Make him the primary backup. Quarterbacks get hurt. He's your backup. So your starter goes down, then you insert Justin Fields in there. I get all that.
Brian's
they had Brady Cook yesterday. And, I'm watching Brady Cook. He threw 3 interceptions. 2 of them were really bad. He was doing some decent things, granted. Brady Cook, what I would do, I give him a spot on the practice squad. If another team claims him, good luck to you, Brady. All the best. And if they don't, he's got some ability. I don't know. Do you remember him at Missouri, how good he was?
He was really good. He was really good at Missouri, yeah. He had a great career there. But
okay,
I never did. I think he was going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, though. Never.
Yeah, but look, let him be on the practice squad. Maybe if he's performing well there, you move him to third string, and maybe ultimately he could work his way up to a backup role. I mean, who knows? But these coaches have to be held accountable for their moves. They really do.
Brian talks about. I said he needs to make some moves with his staff, and I think he's going to be forced to do so. He has to take responsibility for the guys that he hired for that offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator.
You do, and you have to take responsibility for making Justin Fields your starter. You went out on the limb. The Bears moved on from Justin Fields. Fields wasn't that bad with the Bears, in all honesty. The Bears may have stuck with him if there wasn't a contract issue they then have to deal with, and they had the number 1 overall pick, so they went with Caleb Williams. But it wasn't because they necessarily disliked Fields that much. And the Steelers saw Fields having potential, but Tomlin moved on from him.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the Jets, I mean, they get spanked again yesterday, and it seems like every Sunday on the Big Football Show, we all sit here and we disrespect Jacksonville, but they just keep winning games. They get 10 wins. I know that, again, the competition will blah, blah, blah. You can only play the teams they put in front of you. And they're winning convincingly in some of these games. They beat Seattle at home by 30 a couple of weeks ago, and we still don't give them any respect. I'm not sure why.
Maybe we're not giving Trevor Lawrence respect because finally he's showing he's a really good quarterback, playing like a really good quarterback.
5 touchdowns.
And we were critical of him. The guy who was supposed to be a generational player, being a little better than average doesn't cut it for generational talent. But now I think we can upgrade Trevor Lawrence's rating and say he's a good quarterback. How's that? We won't say he's just a little better than average. Let's call him a good quarterback. Let's hold off and let him take the next step to very good. He's got to keep performing. Then we'll upgrade him to very good if he could keep performing.
That's fair. I think at least we're giving him a little bit of credit. Chris,
give him a little bit of a promotion. You're now you go into the category of a good quarterback. We give him a grade of B amongst quarterbacks. Before he was like a C plus. Now he's in the B category, and let's see him get to the A category.
Agreed. Moving on to another game of interest, the Colts with Old Man Rivers. Good morning, Chris. Your comment about Rivers.
I knew we'd get comments like this. Philip Rivers did nothing to get excited about. Get out of here.
He was horrible. The defense won that game for the Colts.
Brady Cook, the Jets free agent quarterback, probably could have performed similar to Philip Rivers yesterday. In Philip Rivers, over his career, I would give him serious consideration to induct him into the Hall of Fame. So I'm not low on Philip Rivers. I loved him when he played. He was a true franchise quarterback, and a very, very good one. Maybe you could even call him a great quarterback, even though they never went to a Super Bowl. Don't get excited with Philip Rivers. In a way, I was glad. This sounds mean, Keith. This is my mean streak that came out in me. That Seattle got that late field goal to ruin the story for Philip Rivers. You want to know why that mean streak came out on me? I was a little happy about it. I was being a hater. Let me tell you why I was being a hater. Because I'd have to hear this morning, it would be all over TV, Sports Center. Oh, Philip Rivers heroics. There were no heroics.
No.
I mean, he managed the game a little bit. How much worse could he have done? Philip Rivers is too smart and too seasoned. He wasn't going to go in there and throw 3-4 interceptions.
Yeah.
I mean, he managed the game a little. It was the Colts defense that kept him in it. So come on.
And I said they won. My bad, Brian. Thank you for pointing that out. I meant to say kept them in the game because I'm looking right at the score. Yeah. They won, but Phillips Rivers. But I saw a couple of the throws, and they looked like he was like pushing the ball out there.
Yeah, listen. The man's been off 5 years. He's 44 years old. He, for his age and his situation, he did okay. I'm tired of this quarterback narrative around the league when guys come out of nowhere and they play a good game or two. I had to endure this nonsense with Joshua Dobbs. He comes to the Vikings and plays really good for a couple of games, and they want to know, oh, what a great story Joshua Dobbs is. And he's been with 11 teams? There's a reason he's been with 11 teams. I'm talking to a friend of mine a couple of years ago about Tommy DeVito out of nowhere. He's talking to me. He's not even a football fan. He says, oh, I hear the New York Giants got this great quarterback, Tommy Cutlets. And I basically told him, Tommy Cutlets will not be on this team in a year or two. He's not, he's at best. If he puts it all together and plays up to his potential, he'll be a backup. He's a third-string quarterback. It's good he can fill in and win, a couple of games. But come on.
He's still the third-string quarterback for the Patriots. I expect him to be second-string by now.
Who was it? Joe Milton. He plays one good game at the end of the year, and everyone's getting excited. Oh, he has a rifle of an arm.
That was Mac.
We keep hearing it. Joe Flacco has some good games, and we're hearing this about him. Oh, Joe Flacco's the answer to this or that.
They're not
By the way, what happened? Wait. What happened to Joe Flacco? He went to the Bengals, and he's still on the team, I guess.
He played a couple games. He's still the backup for.
He's playing now, predictably.
Yeah.
And you disagree, but I hear the same thing like with Kirk Cousins. Let's see if anyone is dumb enough to offer Kirk Cousins an impact contract.
If he could play Tampa Bay on Thursday nights, he'd be great. That could be every game.
He could have. These guys can have good games now and then. Of course they can.
This isn't. This, though, Philip Rivers' situation is not even related to Flacco and Cousins. Those guys just got old, but they still kept playing. Flacco only spent 3 months on his couch. Everybody makes a big deal about him coming off his couch. He only spent like 3 months there, and he played in training camp. This guy hadn't played 5 years, and he looked like a guy who hadn't played in 10 years.
Philip Rivers is capable of playing a good game or two going forward. He really is, because when you have a great quarterback, it's the remnants of what he has left could, cash in. If the co-receivers get open, he can hit them with a pass if the blocking is there. If they're blocking for Jonathan Taylor's faded off a bit, hasn't he?
Well, he got, he only averaged 3.5
yards or so. Yeah.
You know what it is? That's deep. When you can stop, if you can game plan just to stop a running back and you don't have to worry about anything else, then it's not that hard to stop these guys, as elite as they are. He started to go down when Daniel Jones got hurt his leg, and he couldn't move around the pocket as much. When he stopped being able to run the football, they started focusing on Taylor, and it's much easier to game plan for Daniel Jones in the pocket than running around.
You know what's really going to be interesting, Keith? Wow. And no one's talked about this. We're the first show who's going to mention it because we're getting ahead of the curve here with Philip Rivers. If he plays decently the rest of the year, gets better, has all our off-season to get in shape, and he lets Indianapolis know, I'm willing to come back next season. I'd like to be on the team. Do you sign Daniel Jones, who I think is overrated but good? Daniel Jones is too good to be a backup in the league. When I say he's a good quarterback, I mean he's better than a backup, but he's not a true franchise quarterback by any means. Or do you go with Philip Rivers if
No,
he gets in shape?
no. I mean, as insurance, maybe he wants to come and carry a clipboard. Yeah, and I'll
Well,
pay him.
but what happens if he plays well the rest of the year? And
Then
they say, wow, he has all off season and he buys in.
I'm not giving him the job, is what I'm saying. I mean, you
But
want
you can't sign, if you sign Daniel Jones to that type of money, 30 million a year, whatever, then you're committed to him as being your starter.
well, if you do it for you're not going to commit to Philip Rivers because at best, even if what you say is accurate, how many? He's not going to play at the top of his game. They're not going to be better off with Philip Rivers than any other quarterback that might be available this year. They'd be better off with Mac Jones than Philip.
Mac Jones is the wild card. I think Mac Jones proved this year he's worth a team taking a gamble on, because if you give him the right setup, the right coaching, he can be effective. He can be effective. So I think Mac Jones is kind of like a wild card in this.
Now, if Philip Rivers wants to come back again and beat a backup, and I just pay him the minimum, that's great. I mean, that's what they're paying him now, like 20.
No. My point is this: when he retired, he was still a good quarterback. Okay.
Yeah, that was 5 years
good.
ago.
He's been off. It's 5 years. But if he can come back in these last 3 games and really play well, he was rusty yesterday. I'm just saying hypothetically. And then he says, I have all off season. I still got what it takes. And the coach said, his arm is really good. He's going to work hard, get in shape. And the coach loves him, obviously. Coach Steichen loves him, because otherwise he wouldn't be back in Indianapolis.
That's fair.
They wouldn't have reached out to him. I can see him being that starter.
I'm not putting my season on his shoulders. I'm not. I mean, Jack, if you retired and were gone 5 years, I'd have to think long and hard. I might give you a guest shot, but I'd have to think long and hard about making you.
But you're giving him his audition these last 3 games. He's getting his audition.
Well, he failed the first one badly.
But yesterday, we give him a pass yesterday because he only had 5 days of practice. Come on.
He didn't do bad, Danny. My God.
Let's see what he does. It's hypothetical. See what he does the next 3 games. If Philip Rivers plays really well the next 3 games, he might want to come back, and they might want him back.
Well, Dave Steve was a pitcher, so Chris, I don't know if that pitchers and quarterbacks are the same thing. So he did make, pitchers make comebacks. Quarterbacks don't sit out 5 years and come back and play regularly. It's not going to happen.
Let me tell you what would be the greatest story. One of the great NFL stories. We don't wish it upon Drake May, but if Drake May had to be out, Mike Grable, I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, was probably close with Tom Brady because they played together, and he saw the greatness of Tom Brady more up close than us being on the same team. Could you imagine they reached out to Pats, to Brady? Brady's saying, I could still play. That would be amazing.
He'd play better than Rivers, and I get you. You know what? That phone call would probably get made, but there's also
and they would give up his minority share with the Raiders.
You'd have to do
with the Pats. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Fox would probably okay him, give him a leave of absence.
Maybe he'll keep doing games. Maybe he'll keep calling games, owning the Raiders, and playing quarterback for the Patriots. Let's see how that goes. Anything can happen in the NFL. Other big games yesterday. Let's jump to Brian's Lions. If this felt like I know it's not a must-win game.
It was a must-win for the Lions, and it was a must-win. The Lions are out of it now.
They came up short.
They can't. Just looking. Listen, Keith. Just looking at the standings right here. I know them, but I want to confirm the numbers in my head.
I'm looking.
The Lions right now are 2 games behind Chicago. They are a game and a half behind Green Bay. 3 games to go. I mean, the Lions, if they win their last 3, could they catch one of them? I suppose. But yeah, I mean, they're pretty much out of it. They're not going to get a wild card. Listen,
You gotta run the table.
Seattle is 11-3. The 49ers at 10-4. Seattle's 3 games ahead of them. The 49ers are 2 games ahead of them. They're probably not going to catch them. They're probably not catching Green Bay. They're a game and a half behind Green Bay. They have to make up 2 games on a couple of teams with 3 games to go. Are they out of it? I mean, they're not mathematically eliminated.
Feels unlikely.
It's possible. It's possible, but it's highly improbable. The Lions make the playoffs now. But if they win their last 3, at best, they got a 50-50 chance. At best.
And 2 tough games on the road. I mean, look at the Vikings are playing much better football. That won't be a rollover. And they got the Bears on the road, too, to end the season. I'm not saying it can't be done. This is still a good football team.
They're a very good team, but they had the misfortune of playing arguably the best team in the NFL yesterday. And I just say arguably. There are number of teams you can make that claim for. They met a extremely good Ram team who was coming off an upset loss. So you knew the Rams were going to be ready.
Yeah, I think their only path is their own division and passing the Packers.
You're right, Danny, because between the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers,
wildcards.
I mean, they're like, 2-3 games up on the Lions. It's just their path is only the Lions within their division in reality. Agreed. But with the injuries the Packers had, maybe the Packers lose 2 of the last 3, and the Bears could easily run the table in reverse and lose all their games. Something about the Bears feels erratic, even though they should have made believers out of us when they went and beat the Eagles in Philadelphia on Black Friday. And you look, the Bears seem to restore to yesterday in the way they dominated Cleveland.
It's fair. Their last 3 games for the Packers are not pushovers either. They're at the Bears, they got the Ravens, and at the Vikings themselves. So those are not pushovers either. So they're going to have to do some work to
the Vikings. But the Bear Packer game, one of them stays ahead of the Lions. The Lions don't make up any ground on.
Yeah, not having head-to-head matchups is going to hurt them. Unless that Bear game could be for all the marbles in the division. It's possible at the end of the season for the Lions and the Bears.
What are you getting on for all the marbles? With the Lions don't have any marbles right now. What do you mean for all the marbles? They got to accumulate some marbles in the next week or 2. Lions are closer to being eliminated from the playoffs after next week than they are to, then playing for all the marbles. I don't mean to disrespect the Lions. They're talented. They're good. I don't feel their window is closed as far as being a Super Bowl contender. I kind of look at this Lion team, even though it's an off year, I think they can turn their fortunes around next year and they can be a force next year. So I don't think the window is closed. Some teams' window closes, but I don't think the Lions team that's window is closed in regard to what they could do next year. And of course, this year, there's always a chance of something happening.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. The Bears are at the Packers next week. They're at the 49ers a week after. The Lions have a little bit easier path. I will predict right now that game, the last game of the season between the Bears and the Lions, they're playing for the division title.
Well, with the Packer injuries taking place, you don't know what the Packers are going to be going forward. I have a feeling the Packers could be in some trouble yesterday with the amount of injuries that they had. But, we'll see. But the Lions had to win yesterday. We keep talking about these teams. They have to win. They have to win. They have to win. And then when they lose, we keep saying the next week they have to win.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. The Lions don't control their own destiny. That much we can say. They do not control their own destiny. And this time of year, that's one thing you really want in your pocket, right? You want to control your own destiny.
It's possible. Listen, Lions have a pulse. I mean, let's see. If the Lions make ground next week, they can be back in it. Right now, they're not in it in reality. But if they win next week and they could get to within one game of someone, okay, then we could talk a little more.
Yeah, the Lions, and Rick's right. I mean, look at the Vikings.
Yeah.
To be spoilers here, they get to play, a couple of teams in their division, and their quarterback is, all this stuff. JJ McCarthy plays 7 games, and he's a bust. We want to rate guys off so fast today, or build them up. It just drives me nuts.
Well, no. I think people are saying with McCarthy, look, he was a first-round draft choice. They moved up in the first round to get him. And he's in his second season, and it's getting to be late in the year.
He plays.
Has he lived up to expectations? Now you could say he's injured, and I get that, and I don't blame McCarthy for getting injured. It's certainly not his fault. But if a quarterback's not producing for whatever reason at a certain point, it's been disappointing for whatever reason.
Fair. I mean, I'm not saying that's disappointing, but to write a guy off after 7 or 8 games he's played is ridiculous. That's what we were doing with JJ McCarthy. We do it with every quarterback. People have unreasonable expectations. A guy's a failure if he doesn't just come out of the gate blazing like Dan Marino.
Well, that's the modern NFL, unfortunately.
I know.
Quarterbacks are not given time to develop in most situations. That's what I like at Tennessee. Cam Ward has all this time to develop, all this time, make mistakes, get better, so on. The problem with any young quarterback, if you give him all this time to develop, like the Bears did with Mitch Trubisky, you're going to see after a few years, we wasted our time in a sense. The guy's never developing.
You can't wait.
We have to look elsewhere. You have to be pretty confident he's your guy, and he's going to have to show real progress.
Sports is a microcosm of society. I say this all the time. And we as sports fans are like the 25 and 30-year-old generation today who they want everything. They want it right now. They want everything I have, but they don't want to work 45 years for it. So just relax. He'll be fine. JJ McCarthy's playing some pretty good football.
There were some games yesterday, some upsets.
Let me go through the rest of the games here before we run out of time. We talked about, Bears did win big over the Browns. And again, we'll get Shedeur Sanders stories right and left because he was terrible.
He had an awful game in freezing cold, but he's a rookie there. Let's
have awful games. Every rookie has awful games, you know. Ravens and Bengals, Joe Burrow plays poorly again. Did you think this team would get shut out yesterday? I didn't know if they'd win.
Joe Burrow team getting shut out. Something is off with Joe Burrow. It might be motivation or whatever. He was bad yesterday. I'm very quickly, when I talked about the Big Four all season long, I was talking about Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. They're in one bracket and everyone else is in another. I'm changing that. I'm going to leave Josh Allen and Mahomes in that bracket still, even though Mahomes got hurt. They still stay in the bracket. Lamar Jackson slipped out of that bracket, but I'm ready to put him back in soon. But Joe Burrow slipped out. How can I look you in the eye and say Joe Burrow's better than Matthew Stafford? I can't do it now.
People are going to use his comments that he had earlier this week, I think, and tie it to this game and talk about his motivation and is he having fun, all these things. Personally, I just think he was frustrated last week, and Joe Burrow's fine. I don't know that he wants out of Cincinnati, but this was not a good performance. But the Bengals are certainly officially done. Chargers and Chiefs yesterday, the Chiefs' last stand. I took them one last time. And not only do they lose the game and their season, they also lost their star quarterback to an injury. First major injury of his career, I believe, for Patrick.
And it's just, can the Chiefs bounce back next year? Yeah, I think they can. There's a lot of talent on that team, but the favoritism that they've had the last 7-8 years of always getting to the AFC Championship game, I think that's gone. I think they'll just be one of several teams in the mix. They've lost that favoritism.
I'll give you one parallel. After Tom Brady lost a season with a similar knee injury, not exactly the same injury, but a very similar knee injury, devastating injury, his career in the Patriots dynasty, his career jump-started to another level after that injury. and the Patriots dynasty got reborn. So let's kind of.
Well, my friend Max Kellerman said something that was funny and true. He had said that Tom Brady had fallen off the cliff, and then he had to change his tune. He said Tom Brady had a Hall of Fame career after falling off the cliff. Just what he did afterwards was good enough for the Hall of Fame, let alone what he did before.
100%. Listen, Brett Favre may not be far from getting a phone call from somebody if Philip Rivers is going to get them. That's for sure. Burrow was never.
Let's go over the games. Let's go over the games here. I got some stuff to say here.
We'll get to them. I promise. Let me just get these guys their say.
Brian could comment on this because it's the Lions.
I'll leave that for you to comment on, Brian.
That's from
Who is
Brian.
that, by the way? Welcome, Damien. Oh, Damien Hernandez. Go ahead, Brian. You can comment on that while we go through some more of the games. The Giants and Commanders. The Giants. I don't know how this is the broken windshield special. It was a fairly entertaining.
Oh, yeah, I like that line. Come and get a new windshield. That's how exciting the game was.
Pete Exelm line.
Yesterday I thought this for the first time. I know you're going to get on me. Young quarterbacks, they need time to develop. Did we get overly excited about Jackson Dart? He might be a good quarterback for the Giants. He might be a good franchise quarterback, but he might not be. I'm not that certain we should be sold on him. He has a good pair of legs. Everyone is excited. He's charismatic.
I think
we don't know how good he's going to be yet.
The team's in disarray. There's no weapons around him. The coaching staff is in flux. Again, I'm not going to make a judgment one way or the other. He didn't play horribly yesterday and play great. I think he's played well enough to think you've got a chance to have your franchise quarterback here. He's got to take better care of himself.
Giants have been awful this year. Big disappointment. Not that I thought they were going to have a winning season, but the potential was there to take a step forward. Abdul Carter played good yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
He's been a disappointment.
So he starts showing time for meetings now. All of a sudden, he only got to get warned like 10 times and fined. So great job for him. Texans still on fire, just a game behind the Jacksonville Jaguars that we disparage. The Texans playing great football, although giving up 20s a lot for that defense, but they score 40. The offense gets it in gear against a bad Cardinal team. Texans might be a team to reckon with as we head into.
They're definitely a team to reckon with. I mean, you could argue who has the best defensive unit, them, the Denver Broncos. I personally think it's the Texans. The 20 points they gave up to Arizona wouldn't bother me because when the Texans had the game won, so you kind of wonder how motivated the unit was. But the Texans, them in Jacksonville for the division. It's going to be interesting to see who wins it.
Very interesting race here towards the end. I don't know if they play each other or not, but that'd be interesting. Let me just see real quick. Do they? Texans play who? I think they
play one another.
No, they got the Raiders, Chargers, and Colts. They got the Colts to finish the season.
Raiders, Chargers, and Colts. Huh.
That's not an easy road.
Colts will be cooked by that point. Unless the Colts are in the race, the motivation is going to be down. I wonder how the Colts feel about giving up the 2 number 1 draft choices in Adonai Mitchell for Sauce Gardner now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Sonia's going to be mad at us or happy that we went
listen, about this. I nailed it. I nailed it once again with the Panthers. I said the Panthers were going to be 8-9 on the season. I knew what they were about. They're 7-7. They're going to lose at Seattle, and they're going to maybe split the 2 games with Tampa Bay, and that'll put them at 8-9, just as I predicted, this year. But bad loss to the Saints. The Saints are getting better. Saints are pesky. They might win only 1 or 2 more games the rest of the year. They're not going to win all 3 games. They might win no games, the Saints. But the Saints are kind of building a little towards something, I think.
Tyler Shuck. I can never say that. I look at him and I can't say it. Tyler Shuck didn't play badly yesterday, and maybe they have something. They don't have to waste an early pick on a quarterback. Maybe
I think they can move forward with Tyler Shuck next year. I think as long as he keeps playing this way the last 3 games, They showed something. With the Panthers could still win the division, but they've got to take care of business these 3 games. And it really is going to come down to them and Tampa Bay, the head-to-head games.
Not that it matters today, but I can't figure out for the life of me. I looked this morning at all the things that would be tiebreakers. I cannot understand why the Buccaneers have a tiebreaker over the Panthers right now. Everything's even except conference record, which they have a half game better record, the Panthers. So I'm not sure.
I'll continue to say this, as terrible as they've been, don't let Tampa Bay get into the playoffs.
Well, Panthers
because
keep
all the talk about the Rams, Seattle, this team, that team, the Eagles. Look out for Tampa Bay if they get in the playoffs, because it's a question of getting it together come playoff time. And the Panthers have been, the Buccaneers have, did I say Panthers? The Buccaneers have been atrocious. But they'll get it together, the Buccaneers. No, listen, Panthers have had a good year. Kudos to the Panthers. They've improved a lot. I'm not putting the Panthers down. I thought 8-9 was a step forward, and they have a really good running attack. They're moving in the right direction. Maybe the Panthers will be a playoff team next year. I've got to kind of I'll reevaluate that at the end of the season.
But Panther fans, and we know one very closely, their perception changes, and if your perception is going to change like mine has for my team, yesterday was a horrible loss for the Patriots. This is a horrible loss for the Panthers. It's a horrible.
Let's see. They still have a chance to make the playoffs this year.
Well, it's
I know it sounds like I'm discounting them. I think the Buccaneers are a better team, but the Buccaneers have had their head in the sand the last month and a half. But I think the Buccaneers have more upside moving forward this season than the Panthers. But, we'll see. It'll be settled on the field.
I think they'll be well done as well.
I know. I hear that my friend who's a Buccaneer fan, who's had Buccaneer season tickets, tells me that, if they do get in. But listen, the Buccaneers have always played well in the playoffs, even though post-Brady, even though they've gotten eliminated early for the most part, they've been competitive in those games.
And Sonia sadly was at that game. I'm sorry, Sonia. If you see this at some point, I'm really sorry your team lost. I thought they'd win. I bet the Panthers yesterday, so I feel your pain a little.
The big game of the week next week to look forward to, the Saints and the Jets. That's the big game to look forward to.
That's the broken windshield game.
The broken windshield bowl game. Yeah, you could give them.
From Pete Axum. Did I tell you the story behind the broken windshield? I think I told this story. I've told it a few times on my show. Pete Axum, who you must remember from NBC, did the picks back in the 80s, I think. And every week he had a broken windshield special. And it's when you went to the game and you your tickets were on your dashboard, you locked your car up and you headed to the stadium and you realize you left your tickets on your dashboard. You go back and your windshield smashed, and instead of 2 tickets, there's 4. That's the broken windshield special. So anyway, it's funny in my head. Did I miss any games? 49ers and Titans, what you would expect. The 49ers, actually, the Titans made a little run at the end of this game, but it was out of hand by the time they did.
They never threatened the 49ers.
No. And Brock Purdy played a pretty good game and is starting to round into form. And the 49ers, through all of this, still tied are they tied for first place in their division? I think they are, right? Aren't they all tied?
Yeah, 49ers are the most slipped under the radar team in the NFL. For some reason, when we talk about all the teams that could go to the Super Bowl, their name never comes up. We talk about the Rams, we compliment Seattle.
Yeah.
Of course, we talk about the Eagles and, Green Bay, etc. No one seems to talk about the 49ers in regard to the Super Bowl. But they're 10-4. They're right there.
Game of the week this week is the Rams and Seahawks Thursday night.
I'm going to tell you now, I know the Rams won the last game because the Seahawks outplayed them in all categories, and the Rams seemed lucky to win the game. I think the Rams put some distance between themselves and the Seahawks on Thursday night. They show that they're the better team. And I think they win, with a little room to spare.
And we have tonight, I didn't miss any games. I believe I got them all in there. Was there any other thoughts you had that we didn't touch on about the games that have been played so far?
You got all the games in?
I believe so. I don't think I missed anything.
Okay.
If I missed anything in your notes, let me know. But we got tonight's game, Steelers and Dolphins. It's got a little bit of interest, actually, because of
Right, it does. It's a toss-up game. I hesitatingly am going with the Steelers
I
because
actually
I
like the
think a
Dolphins.
Miami team going into that cold weather in Pittsburgh, it's always worked against two in that group whenever they play in cold weather.
I'm going to go with Miami. I don't know why. They're just playing better football. And the Steelers, I keep waiting for them to, well, they have pretty much folded in a lot of ways. But
Well, Baltimore plays the Steelers again. I think Baltimore is going to win that division.
one quick baseball note before we wrap it up here. The Mets, we know, lost Alonso to Baltimore last week on a big contract. And we talked about how difficult it would be to replace him because there were no first basemen really available other than if you went out and traded for one. They went a little unconventional and signed a guy who's never played first base to play first base in Polanco. Not 32 years old, never played a game of first base. I'm not sure this is the path I expected the Mets to take.
Well, he's a good defender in other positions, so they're thinking he can make the adjustment to first base.
Very inconsistent with that. You're not going to get the power from him, that's for sure.
No, but he had 26 homers last year.
Yeah.
He's been a decent hitter. He's a poor man's Pete Alonso, and
Well, he
doesn't have the durability Alonso has.
No, he's been hurt a lot, especially the two of the last 3 years. Last year he played quite a bit, but the 3 years before that he had some injury issues and performance issues. He didn't play very well for four of the last 5 years. Very low batting average. Did have some home runs last year, as you said. I'm not sure if this is the best way for the Mets to go, but they gotta start making some moves here before.
Well, what were they going to do? Play Jeff McNeil at first base? I mean, McNeil has a contract that can't be moved next year. I think he has 2 more years left. The Mets, I think, could get out of it next year.
Did I watch a different game? I'm sorry, than everybody else when I watched.
Why were we posting about Phillip Rivers 20 minutes after we talked about it?
Just because I had to go back. When I see Phillip Rivers has still got it,
Man.
Where's the evidence that Phillip Rivers still has it? Anyway, Brian agrees with us. He thinks a draft.
No. When the Mets blew it on Alonso, wasn't that they didn't offer him a 5-year deal the way Baltimore did. At that point, I would not have necessarily wanted Alonso on the 5-year deal. They could have offered him a nice 4-year deal in the off season. I mean, during the in season, $30 million a year, 4-year deal. We're making this commitment to you. And I think Alonso would have told Scott Boras, I want to stay here. They got to the 30 million point. I don't know what we're going to get in free agency. But what's interesting is this. They didn't want to go 5 years, anywhere close to it. But 2 years ago, they offered him a 7-year contract. So add on the 5 years, and it's the same amount of years, and they offered him a little more than $22.5 million. So you mean to tell me the Mets couldn't have upped it just a little to 27, 28 million and given them the same 5 years since they already offered him that? But I think it's David Stearns wants to make the team in his mold. And I guess, Steve Cohen, the owner's allowing him to do it. So what could I say? I don't agree with it because Alonso was a legacy player for the Mets, and you don't let legacy players go if you could.
I believe if the Mets wanted Alonso, they could have paid the money because the Mets, the Yankees, Dodgers can pay any amount of money, just like the Yankees can simply release a Stan if they wanted to. By the way,
Steve Cohen has the money; he could afford whatever.
Money to be done. They just didn't come back. And Danny, I don't have to stop at one baseball note. I've talked about the Yankees quite a bit. Yankees aren't really going to do anything until they find out what Cody Bellinger does. That's the linchpin to their whole offseason. If Cody Bellinger,
the Bellinger problem is years, Keith.
Yeah,
the Yankees don't want to go more than 5 years, and Bellinger's looking for a 7-year deal.
The problem is
they might lose. If someone offers Bellinger a 7-year deal, I think he'll be gone. But if they offer him a 6-year deal, will he take 5 from the Yankees? It's iffy. I don't think so, but he might.
He likes playing here, but I don't think he's got any allegiance to come back here for less money.
It's always about the contract. I don't want to hear allegiance. If things are close, Aaron Judge took $50 million less actually The Padres offered him 1 extra year and a tiny bit more money. Yeah.
Well, guys do come back because they have an allegiance to a team. Aaron Judge is a great example. So, but Cody Bellinger doesn't. He's been here 1 year. His father played here for 5 minutes. That's it. But again, the reason the Yankees aren't making any moves is they're waiting to see what happens with Bellinger. They really can't do anything until they see what happens. So,
well, no, they could go to Kyle Tucker if they wanted him. I don't know whether they're interested in him. Would Kyle Tucker's age 29? Would they give him a 9-year deal? They might. To carry him to age 38, they might.
I'd be surprised if Cody got 7 years too, by the way. But
he's 30 years old. You know, at what type of money? If it's $25 million a year, 7 years, wow. I think about it, but he was a rat at Cody Bellinger. Last year was good. He's been really good other years, and other years he hasn't been, so good. I don't know what to make out of him.
He's got one of the weirdest careers I've seen in a while because he had 3 really good years with the Dodgers, and then he had 3 years where he was one of the worst players in baseball with the Dodgers, and the last 3 years have been pretty good. Baseball wise, if you're talking, his talent is good. His numbers are never going to blow you off the map, but he's smart. He's baseball smart, right? Too. That's what the Yankees like, and other teams like.
Defensively, plays various positions
at multiple positions, right? And his baseball IQ, I think, is off the charts. Which I don't see a lot of guys with that in the major leagues today. So that's why we're talking that. Any boxing news you got the glove fist?
Yeah, there's actually one. This guy, he's not famous. He passed away, Tony Graziano. He passed away at 103 years old. Wow. You heard me right, 103 years old. I interviewed him when he was like 100 years old, actually. You could Google the story, Google my name with his, and I'm sure you can find the story. But he was from Canastota, New York. He managed Carmen Basilio and Billy Backus, and they were the 2 inspirations for setting up the International Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota. He had his restaurant for a lot of years that played host to everyone who'd come to Canastota for the Hall of Fame. His restaurant was the equivalent of what Toots Shaw's was to athletes back in the day. And he was an Army veteran who was a war hero as well.
Wasn't he a veteran or something else too? By the way, wasn't he part of the? That's a different Tony Graziano. Sorry.
Yeah. Great individual.
Got mixed up with the other Tony Graziano, who was part of the Bonanno family. That's what I'm wondering.
No, 103 years old in the boxing business. So he left his mark in the boxing business.
Well, good for him, and our thoughts and prayers go to his family, and a lot of By the way, Paul Wiggin too, another a guy who not as well known in football as a lot of people, but former coach with Kansas City, was an assistant coach around the league, superstar linebacker with the Browns back in the earlier days of the NFL and before Super Bowls were being played. He passed away this past week. Also, coach at Stanford, Coach John Elway at Stanford, Paul Wiggin did. He passed away as well.
Was that the craziest game? We should talk about that Stanford game.
He coached in it. He was the coach for that game.
Right. That play never should have been allowed with a band on the field. That
wouldn't happen today.
That is so stupid. They should retroactively go back and call that game a no contest. There shouldn't be a loser that game. That's absurd. The band's on the field but it was a Stanford band, right?
It was a Stanford band, yes, and Cal scored, right? Correct.
Oh, so maybe you hold it against Stanford if they can't control their own band. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, their trombone player played a severe price for being on the field because he got hammered. If you remember the scene with the trombone player just getting run over. So, anyway, great show this morning.
Hey, Danny.
We covered a lot of stuff. Danny is right that to get to 103, you really need momentum. I agree.
You got to get momentum. You got to get pushed there.
Jack, thanks, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you on Friday. Jack, I'll see you tonight. Come on, I have no music playing. Jack, I'll see you tonight with Glove Fist at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you Wednesday with the College Football Huddle, and we'll see you at other times during the week.